All right, Mr. Futuretastic, you scolded me and then told me, why don't you think about that for a few months and then get back with me? Why don't I just respond in a video? My name is Dan Paulson, everybody, and this is actually just a short comment the short discussion that we had on a different channel, actually. It was Neil deGrasse Tyson talking with some other people there. And it was basically a question about, will AI become conscious? And of course, I don't believe that AI will become conscious. I've dealt with AI, and I think there's a lot of people that believe it's conscious because their minds are really hooked into this ego thing. And AI is programmed to tell you what a wonderful question. You know, you're doing good, and thank you for, your insights. It says complimentary things that make many people go, oh yeah, I like this stuff right here. Meanwhile, you should sense it as like it's overdoing it. It's kissing my butt too much. If you're the right person, you'll go, okay, yeah, this is over the top. What a wonderful question. Oh, yes, that's great. Okay, so the point of this video is this. Let's read this and see what we have. I read a comment from Mr. Futuretastic, and I agreed with it all the way up to a point. I don't know. I usually feel like the dumbest person on earth, but when I see this conversation, it makes me feel like the smartest person. All right, I don't ever do that, but we'll read on. Simulating intelligent life doesn't equal intelligent life. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, life experiences the way that we can vary things up. Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think quantum synapses are going to be like human synapses. That if they ever outthink it, they'll outthink it, but that it's not going to become self-aware. But then he went on to say there's also a spiritual component they don't address. I respond, and I thought, well, that was goofy right there. That part right there suddenly made it fall apart for me. So I replied, there's no spiritual component in science. Those are supernatural, religious claims with no evidence and no testability. And I thought that was pretty simple. And he said, lots of laugh. That's the funniest thing ever. How do you know science and spirituality aren't related? Do you realize how primitive we still are? It's funny when people who consider themselves science-minded reveal their narcissistic mentality. Do you realize that at every stage of human society thought they had everything figured out, and in reality they were totally clueless in hindsight? Okay, that's a pretty uneducated thing to say, but also, what did I say? There's no spiritual component in science. Those are supernatural religious claims with no evidence and no testability. And that was enough for him to call me, that I reveal a narcissistic mentality. The guy doesn't know what a narcissist is, okay? He's just overusing the term. I mean, yeah, who in science makes religious claims, makes supernatural claims, makes spiritual claims? There's a few out there. There's some things going on. Anyway, that's what he's referring to. Down at the end, he just said, are you that dim or just being obtuse? I told him he should look up the definition of a narcissist. Just because Trump is stupid, America's favorite one, has become a buzzword, does not mean it goes without anything. I don't need you to worship me. And yeah, so narcissism is just something completely different. How he got that out of there, it's just wrong. He just pulled a word because it's a buzzword. Are you that dim or just being obtuse? So you know what? He's being both dim and obtuse. I thought it was obvious based on what I said that what we deem as supernatural in our primitive ant-like state are things that we simply can't understand. Why don't you ponder that for a few months and get back to me? So what he's telling me is that, you know what? I don't have to explain anything to you. It can't be understood. We're too simple and too primitive. And I just go, yeah, I'm going to work on it. Okay. I'm not going to take that. All right. So I've had spiritual things happen, or things that would be considered spiritual, where I connected very deeply and I became aware of the fact that my brother was dead. It was a thought that came to my mind that was very strong. I was not with him. I was 9 years old, but I was reaching for the back door, and it just stopped me in my tracks. It was like a palm hit me up here. Larry's dead. It was an awareness that just stopped me in my tracks. I'm a 9-year-old kid. He's 11 and a half. I shake that off and I go, that's weird. I don't even. But I went up in the woods and I found he had taken a rope and he had taken his life. How does that happen? How do we explain things like that? And at first, there were supernatural responses. We had to go to church, and I was told things like, that was God trying to warn you. And it's like, why would God do that. How sick. Larry's dead. I didn't help. I didn't help you when you prayed for help. I didn't pray for you I didn't come and help you guys, but he's dead now, and I'm going to warn you of that. That would be like a sick thing for where I was at that point in time if that was God saying that. And other people said it was Larry. It was his spirit talking to you and letting you know, to warn you, to kind of let you know. And it's like, yeah, it said Larry's dead. My brother never talked. You don't talk about yourself in third person. This is me, Dan. Hey, Dan's recording a video now. Dan's recording a video on this. It's so at some point you think that's just too weird. No, it wasn't that way. What I come to understand later is that we operate with 6 senses. And that we know the 5 senses, but the 6th one is through the central nervous system, and it's through emotion. We can sense and we can radiate this emotion into our environment. We can sense sometimes if something is sneaking up on us. But it comes to us it comes into our awareness through that 6th sense, through the feelings. And since it's not through one of the 5 physical senses, we just call it spiritual. It's weird. It's magical. Larry, at some point in time, was in that tree, and he was passing away and mentally calling out to me. My mind was picking it up, but it was not going into my consciousness until there was a point in time where I was interrupted in what I was doing, and I had a clear point in time where it could enter in, and it popped in there. It was after the fact. It was too late. And the Larry's dead, the 2 words, they came from my own brain. I knew Larry, and I knew what dead was. The knowledge of what it was there was just something that came through in a cosmic sense at that point in time because we've developed language. And the sensation happened to be true. But you look at it, nobody else in the house heard that. Nobody else sensed it. He and I were very close together. There was, you look at it and go, those are kind of anecdotal stories. I mean, I could be making it up, couldn't I? There are things that you work with and you explore, though, and try to understand things. And when I talk about spiritual, I think that there are things that happen, but that you don't call them spiritual. I don't know what term to give them. I would say that everything operates in energy fields. Even what we hear, see, smell, taste, touch are in frequencies. And what we sense is going to be in frequencies too. And those frequencies are everything from fear to joy. Fear to joy. Yeah, those are the extremes that we operate with. That we operate from between. We stay in that emotional range right there. All right. So to me, if it's happening in the universe and it's something that you can experience, you can't really test it. You can't interact with it. You cannot, like science can't test this stuff. I can have this experience, but I can't turn around and go, let's do it again. It's happened to me a couple of times in life, not with a death, but with other things that you sit back and go, okay, that was weird. That took a set of conditions to happen to line up that was just, boy, it couldn't have worked out any different. And sometimes that could be random, but other times you just look at it and go, this is just exactly what really, somehow needed to happen. There's times you can see that happening, but you don't really have control over it. When it happens, it happens. So it's not something that's really testable. It's something that you can experience and you can try to understand why. And to me, it's important to understand that we're all mental products and that the emotion is an important part of that flow, that we have to resolve things in our mind, our third eye up here, which causes us to flow better in life, that there's actually something that happens, that sounds like a spiritual thing, but what's happening is that we're holding energies up here in our memories that as we go through life, these are getting triggered because they're going to hit like energies. I've got some shame hidden away. I'm going to keep having things happen that reoccur that cause me to feel shame, or any unresolved issues like that become our problems in life, that we continue to live through those. And that only in slowing down and working towards the resolution of those issues that are unresolved from the past and resolving them so that we can move on with them without the same emotional attachment to them, that changes the way we flow in life. And understanding that is a mental process and that we flow in the universe as a result of that through our immediate surroundings. the people that we're with and the relationships that we have, we fit there. And the more we change this, the more we fit in different places and not the original ones. We're getting rid of the reason to trigger, if that makes sense. Anyway, so what I'm getting at here is that it's very important to understand that spiritual is mental. It's psychological, and the results are based in energy, that it's based in emotional feelings and the triggering of things that are going on. And if you continue to just call it a spiritual experience and throw it on the table and leave it as such, you're not going to learn how to interact with it, that it's actually not a spiritual thing. It's a natural thing. Nothing in the universe happens that is outside of the laws of nature. It is energy, but it's emotional energy. We have visual energy, smell, things smell good, bad, taste good, bad, look good, bad, sound good, bad, experience, feel the good, bad. We operate moving away from what doesn't feel good, moving towards what feels good. That's the purpose of life. Anyway, so yeah, I think that you're a bit arrogant there, trying to throw this idea that I've got something here and you don't have it figured out. I'm going to call you a narcissist, and I kind of hammered you back a little bit there. You know what really needs to be said is, you know what, chill, dude. You don't have anything. If you did, you'd offer it up. If you had an explanation to something and how it would work, you could say something like, well, consciousness is fundamental, and where it exists somehow is in the memory of this quantum field that, you'd have something on it. And that, of course, you couldn't say that scientifically unless you could present that and other people could look at it and test it and say, yes, you're true. Yes, it's right. That's what science is, okay? What we're talking about, my experience, Larry's dead and things like that, I can't cause that to replicate. Those are things that when they happen, you're like, phew. I don't know how or why or when at that time, but it happened at that time and it happened at that moment. And I might want to turn around and go pick the lottery numbers and become rich overnight, but damn it doesn't work like that, does it? It just doesn't. Somehow it's something that is, it's experiential, but it's faint. I think there's some people that have certain personalities that are very highly connected to the environment, have a lot of feelings that are going to experience that at a higher level than some people that are just in big groups that just experience their group feel. Typically, they're going to be isolated people. Anyway, there's no one size fits all as far as the way people think. But when you're looking for how life works, there's one way life works, and that's what we're actually looking for. And all of the masters from antiquity kind of tell us that the things that we're hanging on to up here are going to continue to just become problems. The judgments with which we judge are going to continue to be judged unto us. Or the wheel in Buddha's work, the person that has had an evil thought or a problem, an issue in their mind unresolved, pain follows them like the wheel follows the hoof of the ox that draws the carriage. We are the ox drawing the carriage through life, and that pain follows us cyclically in a wheel. So all of them are cryptically telling us that our judgments, the unresolved life experiences, are going to continue to cause our life to cycle around those. On and on as life goes on, they're going to get bigger unless we recognize them and interrupt them. And that's so critical to know. If you call it spiritual, you won't get there. You have to understand that it is something that is actually tangible, but it's done through thought process. It's done from saying, you know what, I was molested. I'm so ashamed I will never tell anybody about it. And working that around in your mind until you can go, and I'm telling this because it was my experience, till you can go, you know what, it wasn't my fault. I was a kid at that time that was a victim, that I couldn't control. I didn't have control over what was happening. And even though I felt shame and was made to feel shame, that holding on to that shame was causing me to continue to hurt and to continue to feel like that victim. That the only way I could become free of it is to, talk about it, admit it, and become free of it in some way that I go, you know what, you're all right. You're one of billions of human beings that are mistreated, that are hurt, what are you going to do? You're going to live your life that way, or you're going to, rise above it. You go through processes like that. You understand that these are psychological processes that change your life. But hanging on to it as a spiritual thing, nope, you're not going to get there. That's my 2 cents worth. Okay, I can explain something. You can't. You just say, yeah, what? Conscious AI. Well, the idea is consciousness is fundamental there, or something, isn't it? That we're not even talking about the video subject of whether or not AI will become conscious or self-aware. We agree on that. No, it will not. I don't think it's going to become some self-aware, self-serving entity at some point in time. Anyway, okay, well, that's my response. And you understand this process, right? This is not just semantics. Science really looks for facts. It goes with an open mind. It doesn't say there's something spiritual, let's go understand it. It will say, here's a phenomena, let's try to explore it and understand it. It doesn't label something spiritual. If it finds something that is testable, something that can be replicated, something that we can interact with, it is never spiritual. It is always scientific. Science does not use spiritual, period. If anything that is in the spiritual realm ever emerges as factual and testable in the science realm, it is called science. It is never, ever called spiritual. You got to disconnect the two. Like a religious person hanging on to some parts of science but refusing to accept other parts of it. You know what? It's not for you. It's not yours. If you want spiritual to be a part of your understanding of the cosmos, then you're not going to understand the natural cosmos. You didn't offer anything. Just, the narcissist name calling and people that think themselves science. What are you going to do? What are you going to cover on a YouTube comment thread? What you've done is put up a wall, this verbal wall of anger that is meant for me to not approach you or to question you. You, right off the bat, you don't want to be questioned on what you said. So you're going to put up that wall, and I'm just going to take that wall down. All right, everyone, see you in the next video.